Right here.
Good morning. How is everybody? So I'll try to take a seat so we can get started. Are you having fun in Nashville? Is there anybody who had too much fun in Nashville? Yay. My name is Amy Turbis. I will be your host this morning for APRA Talks. The theme this year is the power of networking. And I'll be honest, I can't think of a better time nor a better place to network than right here at this conference. I believe there are 400 new attendees, and let me give you a word of advice. Get to know someone here, someone who's doing something awesome that you want to do. Get their number, and in 2 weeks, give them a call. That is how we start a network amongst our peers. APRA is a community, and networking is what keeps us strong. We're really lucky to be here in Nashville, also known as Music City. It's a place that has launched many a career. Perhaps names you've heard of like, a personal fave, Dolly Parton, Johnny Cash, Loretta Lynn, Taylor Swift, Kenny Chesney. How did they do it? They did it by networking. They built their name and their brand one venue at a time, building a strong fan and peer base. It was the key to their success. This morning, we will dive into the power of networking and how it translates into social capital, professional growth, and success in the workplace. I am privileged to share the stage with 3 outstanding prospect development professionals, all who are members of my own network. After their presentations, you'll each have an opportunity to reflect with your colleagues at your table. The buttons you gathered on the way in everyone should be wearing at least one button, will help to ensure that you're sitting with folks who are interested in the same things you're interested in. Please help us make this activity even more successful by tweeting about the conversations you're having. Simply use the hashtag APRAPD2016. This will help all of our attendees learn more about the topics we'll touch on today. You may even see your tweet on the APRA Twitter wall. Since this whole session is about networking, guess what I'm going to make you do? I'm going to make you talk to one another for just a few minutes. On your table, you're going to see a worksheet that says Common Thread. What I would like you to do is I'd like you to sort of talk amongst yourselves and find out what everyone at the table has in common. Perhaps everyone loves cats. Everyone has a cat. Or you all adore pizza but feel like pineapple shouldn't even touch it. Is it a Star Trek table or a Star Wars table? So what I'd like you to get going on is to assign someone to start to write out the common things that this table has in common. I will ask you later because I'm going to want to hear about them, particularly the fun ones. And then let me get you started. Everyone at this table sat there for a reason because you are all interested in the body of knowledge domain that highlights on your table. So there's your first common thread. Please don't do anything with the cards. We'll deal with those later. You have about 5 minutes, so designate a scribe, and let's get chatting. I don't think it's going to work. Okay, welcome back. I was trying a new power pose, tree pose. There we go. My table found out that we all do yoga, but we also like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain. It was a lot of fun. Okay, who else? Tell me something cool you found out about the folks at your table. Coffee crisps. Oh, allergies. That's kind of, oh, yay, okay, they're proud of that. Anything else? What? I could not hear that, but it sounded fun. Oh, library card holders. Duh. Yay. All right, over here. Purple shoes, nice. Comfortable shoes. Comfortable purple shoes? Comfortable shoes. Yay. One more. Ooh, European travelers over here. Excellent. Oh, Christine? Oh, you're so good. Oh, they just got their list. You guys, this is awesome. I love APRA. Anyway, we have to keep going. It's not my show. I know you're surprised. You know, I actually put in the script that if there were crickets, I was going to call on people, so thanks for the lack of crickets. I'm glad you had fun. I had fun hearing about your common things. Maybe not the allergy folks, but I'm glad that you could bond over there. I'd like to introduce our first talk of this morning, Tracy Church. Tracy and I met when we were both part of the APRA Chapter Leaders Group. She is the current president of APRA Canada, and I at the time I am the former president of APRA Great Plains. I must warn you that her smile and laughter are contagious. Tracy will present to tweet or not to tweet, using social capital to amplify your networks. She will discuss how you can use your social networks to build relationships, drive innovation, and inspire others. Tracy has been a professional researcher for more than 20 years, and as I mentioned, is the current president of APRA Canada. She is the co-editor of, I want to make sure I get the title right, Prospect Research in Canada, the Essential Guide for Researchers and Fundraisers. This is a first for our profession. She is a researcher and charitable sector consultant with her own company, Tracy Church and Associates. Tracy has worked with more than 300 organizations in the fields of healthcare, education, social sciences, the arts, and the environment. Please welcome Tracy Church.
Thank you, Amy. How do you follow that? Really, truly, how do you follow that? So I'm here to talk about social capital. We'll go to the next part. Social capital, Mark and Michael are going to talk about different networks in regard to how to work in the office or how to get involved with APRA. But I'm talking about social capital, which is actually an economic term. So how do we, through different social networks, expand the economy of the people that we're dealing with? So basically, social capital is the economic idea that refers to connections. So this is what we're talking about, between individuals and entities that can be economically valuable. Social networks that can include people who will trust and assist you and become powerful assets, and you become a powerful asset to them. These relationships between individuals and firms and entities and small businesses lead to a state in which each of us think of each other when something needs to be done. Along with economic capital, social capital is a valuable mechanism in economic growth. And what are these key concepts? How do they apply to our networks, and how can we use them? So when I was first asked to do this APRA talk, and I leapt to social media, but then I realized, no, it's not. It is about networking. So someone said, well, how did you, when you set up your company, how did you expand networks to actually get a business going? Because it's kind of hard, let's face it, because a lot of us used to work behind our desks, and so how do you get out of there? How do you get out? So how did I establish my own path and brand? And so social capital applies to your brand. You have to make personal and professional connections. You have to be innovative and economical. We are dealing with not-for-profits here. You have to have relevant, and I'm going to get to that later, social networking and posting. I'm looking at Liz over there, right? Positive impact on connections. You have to be a powerful asset to your connections. You want someone to think of you when something needs to get done. And I don't mean taking out the garbage and things like that. I mean like research stuff. And you are the valuable mechanism in their economic growth. And it's not just when you have your own company, it's within your own shops. So how do you market your brand? It's like all of a sudden it's marketing your brand. Do you remember yesterday at the keynote, and she was talking about feeling comfortable in your own skin, and how do you market yourself? It's really kind of hard. How do you choose to make the first big step? Do you do it like the first guy, blindfolded? Or do you do it like Harrison Ford? This is actually Harrison Ford saying, "I believe in you, Tracy." I know that. So anyway, I always say it's just an excuse for me to put Harrison Ford in a slide. It's either that or Gerard Butler. I can never decide. But anyway, but it's a leap of faith in yourself. And it's a biggie, right? But really, I'm just kidding. It's actually still about planning and diversification of your networks. So establish what networks you need for social capital in the time allowed. Let's face it, everybody is really short on time nowadays, and so are you. And everyone has families and friendship. Do you remember all of the values we had to pick yesterday? And you have to maintain a professional and personal balance. I'm Canadian, so I have to put an Inukshuk in here somewhere. Try new things, see what works, see what doesn't work. And then decide what you want to concentrate on and stick to it. And last night we were talking about this, and I said there's no mission drift when you're talking about your own mission. So stick to it. Don't say yes all the time. Learn to say yes, but learn to say no as well. Decide who you want to work with as far as style goes. Sometimes people don't fit with each other, and learn to accept that and move on. Know when you need to reach out to others, when you need them. It's hard. It's like, guess what? It's like, sort of news alert. I can't do it all, turns out. Even though I think I'm a powerful mother and everything. I have an executive coach who has run her own business for 10 years, and she helps me. I refer people to her. She refers people to me. I have an accountant who's an expert with small businesses. I contract a part-time research when I need it, when I'm overburdened. Is Isabella here today? I'm thinking, yeah, yes, she is, who's awesome, and I can totally count on her. She also helps me teach part-time. She's wonderful. And then you start building up these personal and professional connections. You'll notice Starbucks. I actually don't have a personal connection with Starbucks, but it's a place that I have face-to-face meetings. And you'll notice that a lot of this isn't social media. There's Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. That's all good in regard to social media. But the rest are face-to-face. I present pretty well monthly at APRA Canada, obviously very involved in that, AFP, AHP, the Canadian Association of Gift Planners, London Regional Fundraising Executives. I teach part-time at Western, and so what we're doing at Western is we have a prospect research fundraising course in the Masters in Library and Information Science. So it's a whole new generation of prospect researchers out there. So it's wonderful. For the Ontario Library Association as well, I do things for them. Who's the library card holders? That warmed my heart. I was a librarian first. Who wasn't, honestly, right? And then lastly, the Innovation Works is, I joined the Centre for Social Innovation in London, which just opened last month. And what they've done is collaborative workspace. So there are going to be 200 co-tenants, small businesses, small charities, different satellite offices from Western and Fanshawe colleges and things like that. And we are all in one big workspace to solve each other's problems. We have an intranet that's also linked with the Toronto Centre for Social Innovation, and the one in Ottawa, the one in Vancouver, and the one in New York. And I can get links to any of the people who work at those spaces, and I can get space there when I need to meet with people there. So how's that for awesome innovation and relationship building? And it is face-to-face. Don't forget that as well. So it's not all about social media. You have to be innovative and economical. When I was working at a previous consulting firm, I realized there were a few services out there that we weren't offering to the smaller charities. So I thought, wow, when I get out myself, I know I can offer that and be of service to the smaller charities. And then you have to be flexible in your budget, and the charity's budget, because everybody has a really, really skinny bottom line when it comes to research. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. I'm sure you have. And then you have to do relevant social networking. People are overwhelmed with how much social media comes through. I always say more is not better. I mean, how many people here have unliked someone for posting because they post way too much? Anybody? I have. Yeah. Thank God they don't know I've unliked them. Anyway. And does anyone really care what I ate for breakfast? I don't care. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things. So what I do is I try and post, except when the voice is on, but I try and post only things relevant to prospect research, fundraising, strategic planning, global trends and citizenship. Those things, I believe, are relevant postings. I tell their students, basically, if your Twitter name is your Twitter feed is your name, keep it professional. If you want to talk about cats, you can be Crazy Cat Later Fit 565 or something. So, because employers watch that stuff. And then remember what your mother said. My mother's English, so I have to say it this way. If you can't say something good about someone, don't say anything at all, because that's what my mother would say. Don't be a hater. We want to be positive in the workplace, positive in your networks. Volunteer. It's like, that's the best thing that we can do. So I volunteer all over the place. It's like my kids, boy, in Ontario, you have to get 40 volunteer hours in high school. They had it done in the first 3 months of grade 9. They were done. So I had them all lined up. They were good. You need to be a powerful asset to your connections. You need to learn how to pay it forward. So there's a lot of times that I do pro bono work. I do research for free, because you create this referral network of partnerships. And I pay for my referrals, and people pay for me. So if someone has sent me a really good lead and I get a contract from it, I send them a check, say thank you so much. I have great partners in iWave, Blackbaud, Sargent Solutions, Charity Can, and of course Innovation Works, and it's all back and forth. Sargent Solutions is interesting. They kind of clean databases, but they don't do research. I do research, I don't clean databases. So we pass clients back and forth, which is wonderful. And then you want someone to think of you when something needs to get done. Bill your testimonials, put them on your LinkedIn, ask for referrals, don't be shy. Take your business card everywhere, you never know. I joined a ukulele group this past year. We'll get to that later. But anyhow, but I brought my business card with me, and I already have a client that was the one person I was sitting next to in a group of 65 ukulele players. I thought, wow, I've only talked to one person, and she wants me to work for her. So this is awesome, this is great. Sponsorship, you get to pick and choose who you want to support. Donate back to your client charities. In December, I donated back to all the charities that I worked for, and I actually had a few comments. They said, wow, you're the only vendor that's actually donated. And I thought, really? That doesn't make sense to me, because you guys took your leap of faith in me. I'm thanking you for it. It's all about stewardship. They'll love you for it. They will remember you. And you're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And then this gets back to you are the valuable mechanism in their economic growth. And this goes in-house too, not just for if you're a consultant or something. So this goes for all researchers. The return on investment in research is huge. I come in and I'm kind of a researcher hitman. They pay me a couple $1,000. If they get a $100,000 gift out of any of that, wow, talk about a return on investment. It's awesome. And I ask my clients to give me feedback if they've brought a good gift in, and they do. And do not ever undervalue your impact on the fundraising bottom line, because it's huge. Lastly, economics aside, love what you do and let people do it. I've loved research for 25 years. I say over 20, because over 25 sounds really, really old. But anyway, but 20 seems okay. I still seem kind of young. Anyway, but I love my job, and I let people know it, and people are happy to help me help them, basically. And that's it. And I guess I can't say questions. APRA Talk, you can't do questions, can you? Ask me questions later. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I hope I've helped a little bit, and I'm going to hand it on back.
Is anyone else upset that she didn't bring her ukulele? Okay, just making sure. Next year. Tracy, thank you so much. You really kicked us off this morning. Now I'd like to welcome Mark Egge. I realized when I landed in Nashville that I actually met Mark here in 2008 at probably APRA's first data analytics symposium. So our working colleague relationship into friendship has been going on for some time, and it started here. I am really lucky to have him as a friend and colleague. He has a quick wit, and his thoughtful approach to fundraising always keeps me on my toes. Mark's presentation, Friends in Workplaces, will cover how to grow and leverage your internal network. He has worked in the fundraising field for more than a decade, the majority of which he has led and managed small, sophisticated prospect development shops. He is currently the Senior Manager of Prospect Management at the Greater Twin Cities United Way in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He oversees all prospect research and has built a comprehensive prospect management program while also emerging as a key partner for cross-departmental collaboration. In addition to his primary employment, Mark also enjoys assisting other nonprofits as a freelance consultant. He currently serves on APRA's board of directors and has been involved with APRA and APRA Minnesota since 2007. Please welcome Mark.
I'm Mark Egge. I'm wearing a fancy blue suit with a pocket square. And I hate people. Thanks. So let's imagine we're playing a game of two truths and a lie. My truths are, of course, that I am Mark Egge, and I've got a fancy blue suit with a pocket square, but I don't actually hate people. You're in luck. But if you'd asked me this question 10 years ago, I might have, if we were playing the game 10 years ago, I might have had a little bit different answer. I still would have been Mark Egge. That hasn't changed. Everybody settle down. It's all right. I wouldn't have had this blue suit with the pocket square because I bought it last week. And I might have actually said that I hate people. Not that I was some sort of psychopath or anything like that. I was just, in the workplace especially, I didn't really care to interact with my coworkers. I didn't see any value in spending time with people. It's like, well, just let me come in, do some profiles, do my job, and get out of here. So something significant has changed in the last 10 years for me. And it really has to do with relationships in the workplace. And I want to tell you about that today. So about 2 years ago, I started at the Greater Twin Cities United Way as the Senior Manager of Prospect Management. Not exactly a title written by an English major. And I was tasked with creating a prospect management program. Now, if you're in a normal shop where you have to create a prospect management program, you know you need a lot of buy-in from the development side, and so there's a lot of people you have to work with to ensure that they're on board with it. But United Way is a really weird place, and any of you who have worked at United Way know that it's a totally different fundraising model, has a different presence in the community than any other nonprofit does. And so I knew that there were people within the organization who would have external relationships who had nothing to do with fundraising. There were people in marketing, in IT, in our workplace fundraising space, of course. There were executives that I needed to work with. There were assistants. So there are all sorts of people in the organization that I needed to bring along on this prospect management thing. And we needed to move fast. I had a colleague there who said, yeah, we really should have started this stuff like 2 years ago, but we need it now, so good luck. And then another friend said to me, you know, don't you feel like you just kind of keep turning over rocks and finding big ant nests around here? Because a lot of the things that were in place were kind of a mess. The way they were using the database was like, why would you do it that way? Why are you using this business process? It was completely strange. So she said, you know, isn't it just kind of crazy how you just find another nest of ants every time you turn over another rock? And I said, yeah, sometimes I find a bowl of spaghetti too. Why are you doing it this way? This makes as much sense as pasta in the desert. So there were all sorts of reasons why I knew that I needed to have some power within that workspace. I needed to be able to make things happen. I needed to be able to change things. I didn't necessarily have any crazy role power. I was the senior manager of prospect management. Any self-respecting English major in that organization was not going to work with me. I didn't necessarily have any great expertise power because nobody knew who I was or what I was doing. As much as I would wander around with a big ego and act like I was a big deal, that didn't necessarily mean that people believed it. So I knew that the key to any success that I was going to have was going to be through relationships. And I approached this from a very functional perspective in terms of, yeah, I just need to do this to do my job. And of course, it's only natural that this is going to be the best way to go because I can't necessarily improve my role power. That's just conferred to me. Improving my expertise power at the organization is a little bit of a slog. I basically have to show people how smart I am, and that assumes that there's something to back it up, which may or may not be the case. But I knew that I could build relationships with people, so that part was flexible, that part was fungible. I could do something with that. But also, I knew that it was more powerful. I mean, think about it. If you've got a friend who wants to borrow some money from you, or even just wants some money, hey, can I have $5? Chances are pretty good you're going to give it to him. But if someone just walks up to you on the street and says, hey, can I have $5? I'm not going to give them $5. I may not even talk to them. If you're anything like me, you probably won't even give them $1. I might give them the change out of my pocket, but only for the convenience of no longer having change in my pocket, because let's face it, that jingly-jangly thing is getting old. So there's no reason that I would actually give that person any money. Besides, they might just go spend it on booze or something. But my friend asked me for $5. Yeah, I'll give them $5, even if they're just going to go spend it on booze. That's cool. So when we have personal relationships with people, we have access to their resources. We can get things from them that they have. Here's another example. Imagine you're in a meeting, and you come up with an idea. You have the best idea. It's a really fabulous idea. Your people come up with the greatest ideas, and let me tell you, everyone loves these ideas. You bring up that idea, thank you very much. You bring up that idea, and it gets shot down by this guy, Richard. Now, if you don't have a relationship with Richard, you're wondering to yourself, what's his motive? Is there something going on here? Is he being a jerk? Does he just hate me? You don't know how to sell your idea to Richard. You're too busy worrying about all these other things to be able to listen to Richard and say, oh, maybe he's right. But if Richard is your friend, if he's someone you've built a relationship with, Rick, Rich, Butch, whatever he goes by, you say, oh, well, Butch, he doesn't have any motive. He's not a jerk. He doesn't hate me. And I actually know a little bit about him, so maybe I can actually sell him on this idea. But most importantly, I can actually listen to him and realize, oh yeah, he's right, that is a terrible idea. So there's an added benefit in that space too. When you know someone, when you have that relationship with them, you don't have to worry about all that other garbage that comes along with it, with not knowing and not really understanding where they're coming from. Those are a couple of direct relationship type situations. Imagine if you got an email out of nowhere, someone saying, hey, I heard about this prospecting research thing that you do, and I would really love to learn more about it from you. Now, I think most of us in the room here are pretty charitable people, and so we like sharing our knowledge. I mean, I think when we're here at the APRA conference especially, we love going around and talking with other people about what we do, so we're pretty charitable with our time like that. But if you're in a time crunch, you maybe don't have you don't have so much time to do something like that. So you might just ignore the email, you might respond maybe and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any time. But imagine if your neighbor says to you, hey, I was having coffee with my friend, and she's really interested in prospecting research. That's not what it's called, by the way. That's supposed to be funny. The chance that you're going to actually respond to that person, that weak tie relationship, the chance that you're going to respond to that person and actually meet with them is much higher. Now, I don't understand why this is the way it is, but it is what it is. I'm going to see how many more times I can say is. You look and say, well, what's the difference between these two people? Well, one of them knows your neighbor and the other doesn't. On what planet does occupying the space, knowing the person who occupies the space next to the space that you occupy, serve as good justification for wanting to meet with someone? There's no logic to it. It's just a weird personal relationship thing. It just works. So even these weak tie relationships can be valuable for us. So there's so much power in that, and I knew that when I started at the Greater Twin Cities United Way. And I leveraged that. I knew I had to leverage that. So I spent a lot of time meeting with a lot of people at the organization. I'd have coffees, I'd have lunches, I'd grab a drink. It was a lot of socialization for someone who doesn't necessarily like people. I'd do drive-by conversations with them, and I started building these relationships. And I realized I had to cultivate the relationships and keep them going, and so at the end of my first year there, I sent out these little notes to people, telling them that they're awesome, and I write a nice message to them. This one is corporate cat thinks you're awesome, and so do I. You're awesome, like Tom Selleck mustache awesome. For that, thank you. And this was an adolescent velociraptor riding a shark with an RPG, kind of awesome. Thank you for that. Of course, I had built a relationship before, so they didn't just think they were getting cards from a maniac, but it was fun to be able to send these cards to people and say, thank you for being awesome. Thank you for helping me out here at the United Way. I really appreciate that we work together. And obviously, this helped to keep the relationship going. This was really a big thing, and I have to say that this was definitely fundamental to my success at the organization. Did I go too far? I think I went too far. No, I'm fine, sorry. This was fundamental to my success at the organization. I was able to get special favors from IT because I had built relationships with them. So when we had to change things in the database, where ordinarily they say, we don't change things in the database, because I was able to get in there and say, well, here's what I'm trying to do, and let's have coffee and build a relationship, basically, people were willing to make exceptions for me. I was able to get special favors from executive assistants so I could find out, hey, how can I get onto this person's calendar and spend a little bit of time with them? It was the personal relationship that allowed me that kind of access. When I needed to make inroads with our workplace fundraising group, it was personal relationships that really saved that for me. It allowed me so much more success in starting that with people. That was the key piece to it. But really, the part that was most valuable for me was the personal side. When I spent that time getting to know people as individuals, when I understood where they were coming from, what they were concerned about, why they worked at the organization, learning about their lives, hearing about what's going well for them and being happy with them, I ended up building this network of people who I knew cared about me and cared about what I was doing and wanted to help me. I had people there that on my terrible days, I could go to them and say, hey, things are going really terrible. I'm going to go jump out the window. And they would be able to say, no, stay in here. It's cool. And they'd help talk me off the ledge. In those days when I'd have a great success, say, you won't believe what I just did, they were there to celebrate with me. And so from a personal perspective, having this network of people to work with, this network of people who were there with me, just generally making me happier every single day, was hugely beneficial. It changed the way I thought about the relationships in my workplace. I thought they were useless before. I didn't really care. But at the bottom line, at the end of the day, I was a happier person, and I am a happier person because of it. I want that for all of you. I want that for all of us. We're the people who work at the organizations that cure diseases and save lives and educate the youth. We're the people who work at the organizations that save animals. I mean, we're the people who change the world, so why are we not taking care of ourselves? Why aren't we making sure that we're happy at our organizations? And I really want that for us, because I feel like we can change the world. We can do that. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there's some truth to it. So here's what I want you all to do. I want you all to commit to some action. And here's what it's going to be. Get out a piece of paper, something to write with. You're going to write down 3 names. 3 names. I don't see people moving. Let's move. All right, let's go. You're going to write down 3 names. And these are people you're going to commit to reach out to within the next month and start building a relationship with them. We're going to start easy. First name is going to be someone you already know and like. Let's make this an easy thing. First step, someone you already know and like. Start there. There's nothing wrong with maintaining relationships. Second one, someone you don't like. This is Todd. God, Todd, with your plaid shirt and white, what are you doing? And why are you so upset in the meeting? I don't get it. I found that generally when there's someone I don't like, I don't want to engage with them, the problem isn't usually them, it's usually me. I just need to lean a little bit more, get to know them, understand where they're coming from. The vast majority of the time, in fact, every single time, I have thought that about someone like, they're just the worst. I don't want to deal with them. And then I got to know them. There's always some sort of commonality there. There's always some reason to like them. Everyone has something about them, except that one person. I hope he gets hit by a bus, but we're not going to talk about that. But by and large, you can always get there. You can find it. So you can flip these people from being enemies and turn them into friends. And even if you can't do that, at least you know what their motives are. At least you know where they're coming from and what they're trying to do. So there's nothing wrong with building that relationship, even if it doesn't bring you joy. And the third person that I want everyone to write down is the name of someone in your organization that you don't know. Start building your network, growing it. And I especially want people to think about reaching out to someone who is different from them, who comes from a different space, someone who is from a different country, from a different generation, who grew up in a different part of this country, someone from a different socioeconomic class, someone from a different culture, someone from a different race. Find someone different, because I don't know about you, but things are kind of going a little haywire for us in the broader world. And I think a big part of the problem is we're not spending any time listening to people who think differently than we do, who come from different places than we do. So hot diggity, get on it. Get a hold of someone, get to know them, learn about people. You're going to be a better person, you're going to be a happier person, you're going to understand other people better, you're going to be able to be more empathetic. There is no losing in getting to know people that you don't already know, and I strongly encourage everyone to do this. It has literally changed the way that I think about work, that I think about the world, and the way that my personal relationships go. So everyone raise up your list. Hold your list up with your 3 names. High, 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 way high. Come on, it's going to be good for you. It's like half of a power pose. Very good, very good. Everyone repeat after me. I commit to contacting each of these 3 people sometime in the next month. Thank you. I'm Mark Egge. I'm wearing a blue suit with a pocket square, and I love people.
I'm really glad that Mark has come to the loving people side. Thank you. That was wonderful. I can't decide, Mark, if where I should put you on that list. Someone I know, someone maybe I don't like, someone who's a question mark to me, all 3? Okay. Next, we'll hear from Michael Quevely. For those who are new to APRA's, to the Prospect Development Conference, and maybe who don't remember, Michael was actually the first host for our APRA Talks. So that means I have some big shoes to fill, and let's be honest, I'm standing on the shoulder of giants, literally. We'll make sure to stand next to each other as we cross so you can see the height difference. Michael's talk, I want to see you be brave, stand up and volunteer, will open your mind to the benefits of getting involved as it relates to expanding your career, gaining knowledge, and growing your personal and professional networks. Michael is a senior consultant at Target Analytics. He joined Blackbaud in 2008 after working for a number of years in nonprofit research. Michael began his career in prospect research in 1996 at AIDS Project Los Angeles. He was also at the Keck School of Medicine at USC for 7 years and was responsible for overseeing the development research team prior to joining Quintera in 2005. He served on the APRA board for 9 years and was president in 2012. Please welcome Michael.
Say what you want to say, let the words fall out. Honestly, I want to say you've been brave. What you want to say.
Wow, what a room. All right. When I received this email, to say that I was stunned, I think was a little bit of an understatement. I was also honored, a little nervous. Those were the immediate emotions I went through. But before I accepted, I contacted my boss, Melissa, and said, you know, is this okay, and what do you think? And she says, don't even think about it, just do it. So if you don't enjoy this, Melissa, I don't know where you are, but if you don't enjoy this, go talk to Melissa, all right? Now, when you're given an opportunity like this, at least for me, I got very reflective. And I started to think back to the beginning, and it was like 1996, and I was an actor living in LA, and I had moved there a few years before from New York. And I was getting a little disenchanted with the entertainment industry. And I'm always under the belief that we go through life and we're in choice. You're in choice whether you have a job or you have a career. And when you make that choice of having a career, you really need to nurture it and respect that. So instead of resenting the entertainment field, I decided what I thought was going to be taking a short hiatus from the business. So a dear friend of mine at AIDS Project Los Angeles, with the VP of development, there was a development assistant position open. And I thought, oh, cool. You know, I can earn an income, and you know what, I could volunteer. Because to top it off, I really believed in the mission and the vision of that organization. And the woman right across the way from me did prospect research. And I went, you get paid to do that? That's so cool. I mean, that's what I did as an actor. I didn't rely just on the words on the page. I did that additional research. Well, shortly thereafter, she left, and I applied for the job, and I don't know, maybe through some really good acting skills, I got the job. So I'm in my 30s, and I'm doing something that I've never done really before. And I was feeling just that tad intimidated. But fortunate for me, I got to attend the APRA conference in San Diego 1 month after I started. And it was amazing. I mean, everybody was so helpful. I mean, I came from the world of entertainment, where people are more than happy to, put that proverbial knife in your back. And actually, I do still have some wounds back here from my fellow actors. But everybody at the conference was helpful and collaborated with me. And I remember I finally got the nerve to ask a question. And by the way, asking a question, I really believe, is a form of volunteering. The reason I believe that is because I know somebody else in that room is going to have the very same question. So for you to stand up, or anyone to stand up and be brave and ask that question, you've just volunteered to help another member in that audience. So I asked my question, is it unreasonable for my boss to expect me to complete 75 in-depth research profiles in 1 month, and I'm really new to this? And Kathy Turonis replied to me, but I got to also let you know that this was kind of the stone age of prospect research. The internet was really in its infancy. And she said, no, that is totally unreasonable, and if you have any problem, give me your boss's number, I will give him a call. That is collaboration. That is volunteering. I loved it. And I knew from that moment that my life was changing, that I no longer had a job. I had a career. And I put those union cards all on extended hiatus. So I'm in this profession. I am feeling so grateful for all of that information, that insight that I got in those few short days. And I knew that I needed to pay it back. And that was to get involved any way that I could. So I immediately started to volunteer for the chapter, and that was Kara. And it was amazing. Now, you've all heard that line, there are no small parts, only small actors. Well, let me tell you, in the entertainment industry, they're more than happy to tell you, no, it really is a small part. But with Kara, it was never interpreted or communicated to me as a small part, but as a necessity, something that was really important. And that was a real wow moment for me. And that really hit me. And I had to really think about that because, wow, I don't think there's any other profession that I'd really become in contact with that really communicated that to me. You also generally, you'll hear the phrase, when people are out there and they volunteer, they have a tendency to minimize their volunteer efforts. So you hear, oh, shucks, it was nothing. Or, really? I was just a room monitor. Or, oh, no, don't thank me. I was just getting badges. No, don't thank me. Well, I'm here to tell you those little things add up exponentially and greatly assist in the success of a conference. For me, a conference is like a mini-series without commercials. I mean, it keeps airing and airing and airing. And the success of that conference is not by the speakers alone, but by the Emmy award-winning room monitors and people who are at registration. So anyway, it's quite apparent to me now that I was gaining an immense amount of knowledge, and I thought, okay, I'm going to step it up, and I'm going to throw my hat in the ring to speak at a session. Now, most of you may think, well, that's going to be really easy for you. You were an actor. Well, let me tell you, I was more nervous than opening night in my first off-Broadway show. But it went okay. And then I took another step, and I threw my hat in the ring again, and ran for the CARA board and served 2 consecutive terms. And I also served on the Alumni Association board of my alma mater, Stevens College, which is a private women's college. That's a story for another day. So that led me then to being on the APRA International Board for 9 years and being president during the 25th anniversary. If someone at that very first APRA conference would have said to me, hey, you're going to be president of APRA, I would have thought that they were smoking something and, let me know where I can go get some of that. So I titled this session, I Want to See You Be Brave. And the reason that I chose that is, well, one, I love the song and the message that it delivers. But two, it really does take a sense of bravery, so to speak, to volunteer. Because when you think about it, when you volunteer, it's for something that you feel passionate about, that really means something to you. There's a personal stake involved. So my advice to you, take baby steps. Maybe it is being that room monitor. Maybe it is helping with registration. Then take another step. Get involved with a task force or a committee. And the cool thing is when you do that, you don't have to be an expert. That's where I gained so much insight and knowledge on our profession and this marvelous association. Go from there and get involved with APRA International. It's easy. Go to aprahome.org. Go to the resource tab. Click on the volunteer survey and fill it in. And just because you fill in the survey doesn't mean you can't say no. So if someone comes up and says, hey, Margaret, will you do that? Well, you know what? Now's not a right time. But, ask me in the future. The other thing is, if you haven't already guessed it, I'm a very visual person. And for me, life is filled with color. And if I had not stepped up and volunteered, my life would have been filled with nice, soft, beautiful tones of color. But by volunteering, my life was filled with bright, vibrant colors, not only professionally, but personally. On July 11th, my sister passed away from a short battle with cancer. And she was under the belief that no matter how sad, how devastating something can be, it's all about color. It's all about bright color. So my charge to you all, be brave and live your life in the most vibrant, brilliant color you can achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'm glad I wore my bright red pants today. I also want to thank Tracy and Mark. This has been a wonderful morning, but we're not done. Are you ready to be brave? It's time to put what you've learned about networking to work. You have about 30 minutes to respond to questions around your table. These questions are built on the body of knowledge domain that you sat at. You have colored note cards at each seat. Choose someone to get started, flip open the card, and start the conversation. We'll be back in about 30 minutes. Thanks.